Brothers and sisters, Islam teaches us to observe the world around us with awareness because Allah's signs are everywhere. Animals are not just creatures of the earth, they are reflections of divine wisdom, reminders of sustenance and sources of barakah. The Quran frequently highlights the lessons found in creation, urging believers to reflect there is not an animal on the earth nor a bird that flies with its wings, but they are communities like you. Surah Al-An'am 638. This verse reminds us that every creature has a purpose and a role, and some carry blessings for those who respect and interact with them mindfully. Among these creatures, certain animals are traditionally associated with barakah and positive influence. For example, honeybees are praised for their creation and productivity. The Quran says, "And your Lord inspired the bees, saying, take for yourself among the mountains, houses, and among the trees, and in that which they build." Surah An-Nahl 1668. Honey is not only a source of physical nourishment but also spiritual and healing benefits, representing Allah's mercy manifested through His creatures. Similarly, cats are beloved in Islam, known for their cleanliness, gentleness, and presence in homes. Caring for cats brings blessings, encouraging mercy, responsibility, and peace in households. Other animals like camels and horses also carry symbolic and practical blessings. Camels have historically been a source of sustenance, transportation, and livelihood, and their obedience to humans reflects lessons in patience, care, and provision. Horses, praised for their speed and strength, symbolize readiness, protection, and the ability to pursue righteous endeavors. Interactions with such animals often remind believers of gratitude, reliance on Allah, and the interconnectedness of creation. Ducks, chickens, or even certain birds, when kept with good intention, also bring blessings through their products, their presence, and the spiritual lessons they convey about provision and care. However, Islam also warns against influences that may hinder rizq or spiritual prosperity. There is one type of creature, or the presence of certain harmful behaviors associated with animals, that can act as a barrier to sustenance. Mismanagement, neglect, or interaction with creatures in ways that invite harm, impurity, or fear may inadvertently block blessings. The Quran and Hadith emphasize the importance of maintaining cleanliness, respect, and mindfulness in our dealings with all creatures, illustrating that even our daily interactions can influence divine provision. Indeed, Allah loves those who rely upon Him. Surah Al-Imran 3:159, reminding us that reliance, care, and correct action are essential in sustaining blessings. Real-life examples abound. Families who care for their animals with compassion often experience unexpected relief and provision, extra income from produce, protection in times of hardship, or the comfort of companionship that brings peace and spiritual reflection. Conversely, neglect, abuse, or indifference to the guidance of proper stewardship can bring spiritual weight, anxiety, and hindered rizq. Recognizing these signs requires mindfulness, gratitude, and attention to daily life. Ultimately, understanding which creatures bring blessings and which influences block rizq inspires action. It teaches the believer to live intentionally, to honor Allah's creation, and to cultivate environments where mercy, provision, and barakah flow freely. Trusting in Allah's wisdom, reflecting on His signs, and acting with awareness transforms ordinary interactions with animals into sources of spiritual growth, material sustenance, and divine favor, preparing the believer to receive Allah's blessings fully. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. The significance of animals in Islam extends far beyond their physical presence in the world. Every creature is a sign of Allah's infinite wisdom, mercy, and creative power. The Quran reminds us that animals, birds, and all living beings form communities and serve purposes just like humans do. There is not an animal on the earth nor a bird that flies with its wings, but they are communities like you. Surah Al-An'am 6:38. This verse invites the believer to reflect deeply on the roles of animals, their interconnectedness with creation, and the spiritual lessons they offer. Islam teaches that paying attention to these creatures can bring insight, blessings, and guidance for everyday life. Animals are not merely passive beings, they are part of Allah's divine plan, interacting with humans in ways that can influence our spiritual, emotional, and even material well-being. Understanding the significance of animals begins with recognizing their divine purpose. Each species has a role in maintaining balance in nature, providing sustenance, and offering spiritual symbolism. Bees, for example, are mentioned specifically in the Quran for the wisdom of their design and their productivity, and your Lord inspired the bees, saying, take for yourself among the mountains, houses, and among the trees, and in that which they build. Surah An-Nahl 16:68. Through their diligent work, bees produce honey which serves as a source of nourishment and healing. Their activity reflects principles of hard work, obedience, and communal harmony, teaching the believer that every creature has been created with purpose and precision by Allah. By observing these animals, one can draw lessons on diligence, cooperation, and reliance on divine guidance, applying these lessons to their own life. Cats are another example of animals that hold a special place in Islam. The Prophet ﷺ demonstrated love and care for cats, showing that compassion toward creatures carries spiritual significance. Cats are known for their cleanliness, gentleness, and calm presence, and caring for them brings blessings into the household. Their behavior teaches patience, attentiveness, and mercy, reminding the believer that kindness toward Allah's creation translates into divine favor. In homes where animals are treated with care and respect, there is often a sense of peace and tranquility, illustrating that the spiritual environment created through compassion can attract barakah. Horses and camels also have profound significance in Islam. Camels provided transportation, sustenance, and livelihood to communities in the past, and they symbolize endurance, patience, and reliance on Allah's provision. Horses are praised for their strength, speed, and ability to support humans in righteous endeavors, symbolizing readiness, protection, and determination. These animals remind believers that divine blessings often come through tools and creatures that Allah has placed in our lives, and that respectful use of these creatures aligns with spiritual awareness and gratitude. The lessons drawn from these animals extend beyond utility. They shape character, encourage mindfulness, and reinforce dependence on Allah's mercy. Even smaller animals and birds carry spiritual and practical significance. Chickens, ducks, and various birds provide food, lessons in vigilance, and a reminder of the sustenance that Allah provides freely. Observing these creatures inspires reflection on the balance and harmony of creation, fostering gratitude and humility in the believer. The Prophet ﷺ frequently used examples from nature to convey moral and spiritual lessons, demonstrating that animals are not merely companions or food sources but integral components of divine teaching. Recognizing the importance of animals also encourages ethical responsibility. Islam teaches that animals are to be treated with kindness, not harmed unnecessarily, and that their welfare reflects the moral state of the human caretaker. Neglect or cruelty toward animals diminishes spiritual awareness, whereas care, attention, and gratitude for their presence amplify blessings. By observing animals with understanding and intention, the believer develops mindfulness, empathy, and spiritual insight, creating a life where every interaction with creation becomes a means of drawing closer to Allah. Ultimately, understanding the significance of animals in Islam transforms the way we perceive and interact with the world. Every creature, large or small, is a sign of Allah's wisdom and mercy, offering lessons in patience, gratitude, diligence, and compassion. By reflecting on their roles, respecting their presence, and observing the subtle ways in which they interact with our lives, the believer cultivates a heart attuned to divine signs, prepared to receive blessings, and aligned with the most merciful's plan. Among the most fascinating aspects of Islamic teachings is the recognition that certain animals bring blessings or barakah into the lives of those who interact with them with respect, care, and awareness. These creatures are not merely biological beings, they serve as vessels through which Allah manifests His mercy, sustenance, and spiritual guidance. The Prophet ﷺ emphasized the importance of kindness, respect, and mindfulness toward animals, demonstrating that such interactions can draw divine favor. Understanding which animals bring blessings allows the believer to recognize the subtle ways Allah provides for and protects His servants both spiritually and materially, and encourages a lifestyle of reflection, gratitude, and ethical conduct. One such blessed animal is the honeybee. The Quran specifically mentions the bee, highlighting its inspired activity and the remarkable benefits of its labor. And your Lord inspired the bee, saying, "Take for yourself among the mountains houses and among the trees and in that which they build. Then eat from all the fruits and follow the ways of your Lord made easy for you." Surah An-Nahl 16:68. Honey is not only a source of physical nourishment but also carries healing properties and spiritual symbolism. The bee teaches lessons about diligence, cooperation, and obedience to divine guidance. By observing the bee, the believer learns that consistent effort aligned with Allah's wisdom produces results that nourish both body and soul. The presence of bees and their products therefore brings barakah, reflecting Allah's mercy in tangible form. Cats are another animal traditionally associated with blessings in Islam. The Prophet ﷺ showed great compassion toward cats, demonstrating that care for these animals carries spiritual significance. Cats are clean, gentle, and soothing in their presence, making them ideal companions in the home. Caring for cats instills qualities of patience, compassion, and attentiveness which ripple outward into human interactions and household harmony. A home in which animals are treated with respect and care becomes a place where mercy and tranquility flourish, attracting Allah's favor and fostering an environment conducive to barakah. Horses are also significant in Islamic tradition, valued for their strength, speed and utility in both defense and transport. The Prophet ﷺ praised horses for their role in supporting righteous endeavors and enabling mobility in times of need. Horses symbolize readiness, protection and divine provision, reminding believers that tools and creatures Allah provides are part of His plan to facilitate sustenance and safety. Similarly, camels hold special importance, historically providing sustenance, transportation and livelihood. Their endurance and reliability teach lessons in patience, resilience and reliance on Allah's provision. Engaging with these animals with respect and gratitude allows their presence to become a source of blessings and divine guidance. Even smaller creatures such as ducks, chickens and other birds contribute to barakah when treated with care and maintained in alignment with Islamic ethics. These animals provide food, livelihoods and opportunities for reflection on the balance and harmony of creation. The Prophet ﷺ often drew lessons from the natural world, demonstrating that everyday interactions with creatures carry spiritual weight. By maintaining awareness of their roles and treating them with kindness, believers attract Allah's mercy into their homes and communities. The blessings brought by these animals are not merely material, they also nurture spiritual and emotional growth. Observing their behaviors encourages mindfulness, patience and ethical reflection. Feeding, caring for and protecting these creatures fosters empathy and responsibility, qualities that attract divine favor and enhance personal character. The presence of animals associated with barakah in a household or community serves as a continuous reminder of Allah's provision, reinforcing gratitude and reliance on Him. Ultimately, these four animals exemplify how creation can become a conduit for blessings when approached with awareness, respect and intention. Their presence in a believer's life is a manifestation of Allah's mercy, offering sustenance, protection and spiritual lessons. By recognizing their significance, caring for them ethically and reflecting on the divine wisdom they represent, believers can cultivate environments where barakah flows, hearts remain humble and lives are aligned with the guidance and mercy of the Most Merciful. In the exploration of blessings and sustenance in Islam, it is equally important to recognize that some creatures or interactions can inadvertently hinder rizq or provision. While certain animals bring barakah, there is one type of influence that can block or diminish blessings if caution is not exercised. Islam emphasizes balance, mindfulness and ethical conduct in all aspects of life, including interactions with creation. The Quran reminds believers, indeed Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. Surah Ar-Ra'd 13:11. This principle applies not only to internal spiritual states but also to external actions, including the treatment and presence of animals. Awareness of what may block rizq is essential for maintaining divine favor and attracting sustenance in both spiritual and worldly matters. The animal that is traditionally associated with blocking rizq is often not inherently evil but becomes harmful through neglect, impurity or the creation of fear and discomfort in a household. Islam stresses cleanliness, harmony and respect toward all creatures. An animal that is mistreated, allowed to live in filth or becomes a source of constant distress can disrupt the spiritual and physical balance of a home. Just as neglecting spiritual practices hinders divine mercy, neglecting proper treatment of animals can create an environment where blessings are obstructed. This is not due to the creature itself but rather the conditions surrounding it and the negative energy it may contribute when ethical principles are ignored. One example is certain types of pests or harmful creatures that invade homes, such as snakes, scorpions or rodents, when left unchecked. These creatures can cause fear, harm and disruption, which may symbolically represent or practically result in blocked opportunities, increased stress or financial loss. The Prophet ﷺ emphasized cleanliness, order and the removal of harmful elements from living spaces, highlighting that maintaining a pure and safe environment attracts mercy and sustenance. A home or workplace overrun by neglected or dangerous creatures reflects disorder, which may symbolically or practically block rizq. The lesson extends beyond physical harm to behavioral and spiritual influence. A creature that causes constant fear, annoyance or distraction can shift the energy of a household, causing anxiety, impatience or neglect of righteous acts. These states of mind can prevent the believer from fully engaging in worship, ethical conduct or mindful action, all of which are necessary for attracting Allah's mercy and sustenance. The presence of such animals, if not managed appropriately, can thus indirectly block blessings by affecting the spiritual atmosphere of a home or workspace. The Quran and Hadith repeatedly link sustenance and provision to ethical conduct, cleanliness and awareness.
By addressing harmful influences, whether through removing dangerous creatures or managing their presence ethically, believers align their actions with divine guidance and facilitate the flow of Rizq. The Prophet ﷺ taught that taking proactive measures to ensure safety, cleanliness, and harmony is part of a believer's responsibility, demonstrating that attention to details in daily life, including the treatment of animals, is essential for maintaining divine favor. Practical steps to prevent blocked Rizq include keeping living spaces clean, handling animals with care, and removing sources of harm or distress. Beyond mere physical measures, it is also essential to cultivate a mindset of mindfulness, gratitude, and reliance on Allah. Recognizing that blessings flow when the heart and environment are prepared encourages vigilance in all interactions with creation. By addressing harmful influences and fostering positive conditions, believers not only protect themselves from spiritual or material obstruction but also create a home or environment that welcomes barakah. Ultimately, understanding the animal that can block Rizq reinforces the broader Islamic principle that blessings are connected to ethical action, mindfulness, and alignment with divine guidance. The presence of a harmful or neglected creature serves as a reminder to maintain order, cleanliness, and spiritual focus. By approaching the issue with awareness and care, believers can prevent obstruction, safeguard their provision, and create conditions in which Allah's mercy and sustenance flow freely, reinforcing the importance of conscious action, responsibility, and trust in His divine plan. The guidance provided by the Quran and the Sunnah regarding animals and their influence on our lives is not meant to instill fear or superstition but to encourage mindfulness, reflection, and ethical action. Islam teaches that everything in creation is a sign of Allah's wisdom, and by observing these signs carefully, believers can draw lessons that guide their spiritual, emotional, and material well-being. Real-life examples, both historical and contemporary, show how interaction with animals can bring unexpected blessings or reveal areas where attention and care are required. These examples remind us that divine signs often manifest in subtle, ordinary ways, requiring awareness and contemplation to recognize. The Prophet ﷺ demonstrated this awareness in his own life. He praised bees for their diligence, showed compassion toward cats, and highlighted the importance of horses and camels in daily living and defense. His interactions with animals were never casual, they were purposeful, intentional, and reflective of a broader spiritual consciousness. This awareness allowed him to derive lessons from nature and apply them in ways that benefited both individuals and communities. For instance, observing the bees' methodical collection of nectar and production of honey provided not just a model of diligence but also a source of physical healing and sustenance, reflecting Allah's mercy. Real-life examples in contemporary settings mirror these lessons. A family that cares for their animals with compassion may notice unexpected blessings, extra sustenance through produce or products, improved emotional well-being, or protection from harm. A beekeeper, for example, may find that their careful attention to the hives and respectful treatment of bees results in abundant honey, a source of income and a tool for spiritual reflection on Allah's mercy. Similarly, someone who maintains a cat in their home with care may find their household atmosphere transforms. Calmness, companionship, and even improved relationships among family members are often observed. These examples illustrate that barakah flows not just from the act of caring but also from the intention and mindfulness behind it. Conversely, failing to recognize harmful influences can provide equally important lessons. Households where dangerous or neglected animals create chaos, fear, or distress often face disruption in both practical and spiritual ways. The stress and distraction caused by neglect can impede worship, ethical reflection, and the cultivation of gratitude, essential components for attracting divine blessings. Historical examples from Islamic tradition highlight the importance of removing harmful elements from one's environment, emphasizing that ethical stewardship of creation is directly linked to spiritual and material well-being. The Quran encourages believers to reflect on these signs actively. Do they not look at the camels how they are created, and at the sky how it is raised, and at the mountains how they are erected? Surah Al-Ghashiyah 88:17-19. Reflection is the key to recognizing blessings and warnings in daily life. Animals in their behavior, purpose, and interaction with humans provide constant opportunities for observation and contemplation. They remind us of Allah's meticulous planning, the interdependence of creation, and the importance of ethical action in attracting mercy and provision. Furthermore, recognizing divine signs in animals fosters gratitude and humility. When a believer sees how bees produce honey, how camels sustain communities, or how cats offer companionship, they are reminded of Allah's infinite wisdom and provision. Gratitude for these signs strengthens the heart, enhances spiritual awareness, and amplifies the effects of other righteous acts. Reflection on the potential obstacles such as harmful or neglected creatures similarly reinforces responsibility, mindfulness, and proactive ethical behavior. Ultimately, the stories, parables, and Qur'anic guidance surrounding animals show that Allah's signs are everywhere, often in the most ordinary aspects of life. By observing these creatures with attention, care, and ethical intent, believers learn to recognize the flow of blessings and the potential for obstruction in their environment. Awareness, reflection, and intentional action transform everyday encounters with animals into profound lessons in gratitude, patience, ethical conduct, and reliance upon Allah. These signs remind the believer that sustenance, protection, and spiritual growth are interconnected, and that mindful stewardship of creation is a pathway to receiving Allah's mercy and provision in abundant and meaningful ways. Trust, reflection, and deliberate action are essential components in receiving Allah's blessings, particularly when it comes to understanding the influence of animals on our rizq and spiritual well-being. Islam teaches that blessings are not random or coincidental. They are often the result of a combination of divine mercy and human awareness, intention, and ethical conduct. When believers observe the creatures around them with mindfulness, treat them with respect, and act in accordance with divine guidance, they align themselves with the flow of barakah that Allah provides. This principle underscores the importance of trust in Allah, conscious reflection on His signs, and proactive action to cultivate environments conducive to sustenance, protection, and spiritual growth. Trust in Allah forms the foundation of understanding and benefiting from these signs. Believers are reminded repeatedly in the Quran that Allah's plan is perfect and that His provision encompasses both seen and unseen blessings. And whoever relies upon Allah, He is sufficient for him. Surah At-Talaq 65:3. Recognizing that certain animals bring barakah while others may block rizq is not a matter of superstition but an acknowledgement of the interconnectedness Allah has created between His creatures and human life. Trusting in His wisdom allows believers to act with confidence, knowing that their efforts to care for beneficial animals, maintain cleanliness, and avoid harmful influences will be rewarded in ways both obvious and subtle. Reflection is the next crucial component. Islam encourages believers to ponder Allah's signs in creation, as these reflections deepen understanding and reinforce spiritual awareness. Observing a bee's diligence, a cat's gentle nature, a horse's strength, or the endurance of a camel provides insight into the principles of diligence, patience, and obedience to divine guidance. Reflection also helps believers recognize harmful influences such as neglected or dangerous creatures and understand the importance of removing obstacles from their environment. This mindfulness is an exercise in spiritual awareness, teaching that even ordinary interactions with animals can have meaningful consequences for one's sustenance, peace, and overall well-being. Deliberate action translates trust and reflection into tangible outcomes. Caring for animals that bring blessings, ensuring cleanliness in living spaces, and managing harmful creatures proactively are all practical ways of aligning with Allah's guidance. For example, feeding and maintaining a cat or ensuring that bees have a safe and clean environment allows their presence to contribute positively to one's household. Conversely, removing harmful animals or preventing conditions that encourage pest infestations protects the home from potential disruption and aligns the household with divine mercy. Action grounded in ethical responsibility transforms ordinary practices into spiritual investments, multiplying the effect of divine blessings and safeguarding one's provision. Real-life examples reinforce the importance of trust, reflection, and action. Families who treat animals with compassion often experience unexpected forms of barakah: abundant produce from poultry, healing from honey, protection from environmental harm, or even emotional and spiritual tranquility. Conversely, households that neglect ethical treatment or allow harmful creatures to disrupt the environment often encounter financial, emotional, or spiritual obstacles. These outcomes are not mere coincidences. They are evidence of Allah's intricate design, where human awareness and action interact with divine providence to shape the flow of sustenance and mercy. Furthermore, cultivating these practices encourages gratitude and spiritual resilience. When a believer witnesses the blessings that flow from mindful interaction with animals, they develop a deeper appreciation for Allah's wisdom, a stronger reliance on His plan, and a heart attuned to recognizing signs in everyday life. Gratitude enhances spiritual receptivity, ensuring that the blessings one receives are multiplied and sustained. Trust, reflection, and action together create a holistic approach to life in which believers are proactive participants in divine mercy rather than passive observers. By integrating trust, reflection, and deliberate action, a believer aligns their life with Allah's plan, ensuring that blessings are recognized, nurtured, and maximized. This alignment transforms ordinary encounters with animals into powerful reminders of Allah's mercy, provision, and guidance, fostering environments where sustenance flows, spiritual growth is nurtured, and divine favor becomes evident in every aspect of daily life. Believers who cultivate these practices experience not only material barakah but also a heart filled with peace, gratitude, and reliance upon the Most Merciful, preparing them to receive Allah's blessings fully and consciously in every moment.